What reforms would you like to see happen?
Fire them all. Fire them all and hire people that are actually into gaming. Like there are so many YouTubers that would have made better personalities in those roles than any of these freaking games media journalists, right? And I mean, that goes for regular journalists too. Like fire fucking journalists that have a bias and at least try to find ones that are doing research. I realize like press has never really been that great if you start really looking at the past. But there's been moments we've had bright sparks, like the Vietnam War had to, it's a bright spark of journalism. I'm sure we could have more bright sparks in regular journalism as well as like in games journalism when we actually had the stuff about corruption inside of companies and mistreatment of staff. I mean, I'm sure it can be done.
You say you want to fire them all. So if you take this approach, and maybe some people did back then too, other than just you, of just like LOL, fire them all, clean house, get some new people in there, like you're approaching an institution with this demand that like some people perceive as being unreasonable and is going to ruffle a lot of feathers and cost people their jobs and their livelihoods. And presumably you don't even just talk about like firing people who have specific allegations against them, but like just clean house and fire 90% of the staff or and then bring in new people. Like if I'm the owner of a company or even the editor in chief or whatever, and people come to me with this demand, I'm gonna be like, fuck, this is insane, dude. I'm gonna lose like 90% of my workforce and like maybe have to actually recruit people and hire people for a job that like most people don't want to do because the pay is shit, the benefits are shit. Like I'm like barely scraping by as it is, and now you're telling me to fire 90% of my staff. Like I'm just gonna say fuck you, gamer assholes, because I'm not doing that. Right? Isn't that approaching it like such a hostile way that they're gonna be so closed off to reform?
Who the fuck went out of business during the whole Gamergate thing?
Well, to be clear, GamerGate cost Gawker a lot of money, but it
It
wasn't
was Hogan.
ultimately what ended it.
It was Hogan that ended it. But I'm sorry. Like, if your quote unquote news agency leaves you on the hook for a lawsuit, you are not doing your job as a manager or an editor to keep that staff. It's like, I'm sorry, we were just telling you should probably run your business better. You fucking learned. You fucked around. You found out, right? You kept these losers on
And
your fucking
what good
payroll.
did that do? Because games journalism still sucks. It's just a few. There's
Yeah,
a bunch of companies went under. Cool, good. Those companies died, but now they're replaced with new companies, and the new companies aren't good either. You didn't reform anything. You didn't.
no, we didn't, because we don't need to, because YouTubers replaced them years ago. We wanted to see some change. We told you, look right over there. Look at YouTube. Look at the people that are actually doing reviews and critiques and gameplay and all this stuff. You have a wealth of people who would welcome the opportunity to get validated and be put on blast, right? There's so many people that were itching for the opportunity, ready, willing, and able. You look what they did to Gerard from The Completionist. Look what they did to my boy, right? He just wanted to be a part of the mainstream press, and he tried with the G4 TV relaunch. Look what they did to my boy. They try, like, he is. If you want to talk about someone who is like a fucking paragon for the medium, that man bought out the entire eShop to preserve the games in it, and is maintaining shit like that. Like, there are people like that out there that the industry could have been using all this time, and instead they just cannot get past themselves, and they cannot unfuck themselves to just understand that you need to stop holding on to your fucking ideals about whatever you're trying to promote, because you're in the wrong fucking industry to do that, and instead leave.
Don't you
Leave.
don't you think
Let
it
someone else come into it.
don't you think it would be better if you were like, hey, look, I want you to create ethics policies. I want you to I want you to use progressive discipline on writers. If they fuck up, it's a minor fuck up. Okay, well that doesn't have to be a termination right away, but that can be a write up, that can be a conversation, whatever it is. And if it's a really serious fuck up, then they get fired, right? Wouldn't like approaching it in this way rather than LOL, just fire everybody? Don't you think that would be a more productive approach? And
One
I
of the
am
major
storm.
one
I don't think I'm straw manning you even. I think that's your view.
one of the major people in games media is Adam Sessler. You know who Adam Sessler
Oh
is,
yeah, I grew up with Adam Sessler. I loved his stuff as a kid.
right? He is one of the major respected figures in their little cadre. What the fuck did he say about doxing?
That it's okay. He's okay well, in some circumstances at least. I don't know what his exact phrasing was, but
Like, this is the people that you're asking to change and reform. They're not gonna. They're not gonna.
he's one
Right?
person. There's like hundreds of games journalists.
Yeah. But a lot of them align themselves with him when they're in the editor in chief position. Right? Like, I'm sorry to say, a lot of them align themselves with him more than, like, I'm not talking all the journalists. I'm talking the editors. They all respect and basically agree with Sessler in the back rooms. And that came out a little bit during Gamergate, how they all were like, well, yeah, I mean, gamers are pretty crap and we just kind of deal with them. You know, it's like it came out that these editors supported this shit. And the biggest mark that they supported it, the fact they let the gamers are dead articles out in the first place. That's why I said, fire them all. Goodbye. We do no longer need you as press. If you cannot see how wrong you are to go after your audience and just relentlessly bash them over the head time and time again for enjoying the medium you're supposed to be covering, you do not belong in that space. There might be another space you could belong in. Find it and leave. Very simple. Go away. Get lost. We do not need you in this space. Any other genre, if people were like this in any other genre of any other media, whether it be books, comics, anything else, they're going to get the same treatment. Get the fuck out of our area. We do not need you to be constantly bashing us over the head with negative nonsense. No other place. If MSNBC came online and said, "You are all a bunch of fucking entitled idiots who watch this show. You're all a bunch of fucking idiots. I hate you all. You all should just go fucking end yourselves." Do you think people would not be outraged?
Well, I think people were rightly outraged. I think that it was. I remember the articles that came. I wasn't a part of GamerGate um, in 2014 at all, but I got involved in like during the spring of 2015 with the censorship controversies. But I remember when the Gamers Dead articles came out, I saw them on a forum, I believe, and I was really upset by them. I was like,
Yeah,
well, what the fuck? Why are these articles coming out? Why, why would they say these horrible things? And it
exactly.
bothered me for a long time. It bothered me for like months, and because I had no context for why the articles even came out. Even I was just like, what the fuck? Like I was just
Yeah,
like, why did all these articles come out? Or I don't even know if I saw all of them. I might have just saw like one. But like it was like this really stupid thing. I'm like, why are they saying that gamers are over and trying to end the gamer identity? Like I have a lot of positive experience with the gamer identity. The gamer identity is how I've partially bonded with my friends, with my family members. It was a part of my childhood. It's a part of my adolescence. It's a part of who I am now as an adult. You know that this is something I care about. It's something that I'm able to enjoy with other people, and I think that that's a positive thing. And there's obviously some bad things too, but to only focus on the bad and to say that the whole identity has to go away because like some people on the internet are assholes. I think that's so fucking stupid. and like it bothered me for a long time. And then, but you know, whatever. Like occasionally I would think about it, about these articles for months. And I'd be like, I'd think about it, like I'd be like, you know what, that was. I'm like, I can't believe they wrote that article. How fucking stupid was
Yeah.
that? I'd just think about it, and then, like a year later or like 6 months later, I got involved with GamerGate due to censorship stuff with gaming, and
Mhm.
I saw. I'm like, oh, that's why those articles came out. They all came out at the same time. It wasn't even just the one article I read. It was, 19 articles. Holy shit. And like they wrote them because they wanted to end the gamer identity. And
Yeah.
maybe like they thought they had good intentions in some way. I don't know how they could. Other than like they had like an ideological vision that they wanted to put forward, and gamers didn't have a role in that vision in their future. It
Yeah,
felt
and I mean
like.
that's the point, is that these people never want to be in the games press. They never wanted to be in the games press. They had an entirely different concept of what they wanted to do in media, and the games press was just the lowest bar to become a writer. It was just the absolute lowest bar. They got in there because people don't want to cover, because games are kiddie things. You don't want to cover the kiddie things, so give it to whoever. Give it to the new guy that just came in, and the new guy were people that were, these leftist people that had this concept of what they want to say, and you can see it in different reviews from different people where they're talking about their personal lives, and they're talking about other nothing to do with the game whatsoever, just like nonsense that they just filled this article with, just so that they can have an outlet for their nonsense. You know?
Some people might say that you did that in this book interview.
Yeah, well, I mean, in this book interview, I'm like the start of it. You didn't have questions for me. If you want to ask me questions for the book interview, go ahead.
Oh, I like
You are
I
right
like a
now.
semi-formal, semi-informal. I like a
Yeah,
semi-informal thing.
exactly.
So I'm
So
I'm
like
cool, but
like I was out there just you want to be a spot about stuff, I'll spot about stuff. But I mean, if you want to talk about GamerGate about the article, we can talk about GamerGate about the article too. Both of them, I can do both.
will you
But at
say
the same time, that's not my career. That's not what I do. I'm not sit here. I'm not out here
I was
running
just ribbing
article
you a
after
bit. You're
article.
good, man.
No. I'm telling you. You want an honest explanation? I'm not out here in like my everyday work every single day talking about fuck. I'm not here talking every day about GamerGate. I'm not sitting at my office talking about GamerGate, then going home talking to my wife about GamerGate, then going out to the bar and talking about GamerGate, and going out to see my friends talk about GamerGate. Them, it's their leftist policy. They're talking to their friends about it. They're talking to their coworkers about it. They're talking to us through the medium of their reviews about it. It's a constant irritating buzz that just goes through everything, and it cuts through everything. That's why that one dude freaked out. It's a culmination. Although that was fucking hilarious. I don't know if you saw the whole fucking pronouns video yet, but oh my god, that was hilarious. And it's just such an overreaction. But I get where he's coming from in the fact that it's this constant thing that you cannot seem to get away from anymore, even in your recreational hobbies, because these people just keep forcing it in every single thing, in television, in the press, in your games, in your books, in everything.
I hosted a panel where we talked about the pronoun situation.
Uh,
I I don't think it's a big deal at all. I think actually having more options in games is good.
It was so fucking stupid and funny. I love it so much. I'm like, why, dude? What? Every single game that lets you do a character creation has you picking gender. This time it's just the pronoun of the gender. Who the just you're so dumb. You're so dumb. And you're the reason why people look at gamers and go, they're all fucking insane. Because people like you get on here going, fucking pronouns. Fucking
Well, to be clear though,
pronouns.
it looked like it might have been partly an act by him to try and get more attention for his channel. I don't know.
No, it's not. It's not an act.
Well, he might have been legit mad, but I think he blew it up on purpose a bit more.
I've followed Heel versus Babyface for a bit. No, like there's a reason I don't watch his shit anymore. he tends to flip out about this shit, and he's genuine about it. Like that, like his freak out, that wasn't like a for show thing. That's legit. He just has a problem. He has anger issues. The dude just that was not an act. He legit believes that shit. That's why he was so proud of that moment when it was reposted, and he reposted it himself because it's like he thought he was like scoring points because he's like, this is my genuine rant about this stuff. I'm sick and tired of it. We're at war, you know. Consider him like the Alex Jones of gaming. We're at war. They've turned the freaking frogs gay, you know. He's that level of like unhinged at times. So no, I fully believe like that's why he didn't walk it back, and that's why he's continuing it because he genuinely that's genuinely what he believes, and I'm just like, bro, it ain't that serious, bro. It really is not.
Well, do you have
It's
any
one of
thoughts on
you have any thoughts on what?
Nexus mods removing mods that remove the pronouns?
I don't give a shit. That's their business. If they want to remove it, let them remove it. You know, it's up to if you don't like using Nexus mods after that, don't. I didn't think the pronoun thing was that big to begin with. And if you want to find another place other than Nexus mods, if you don't like people censoring Nexus mods, then go somewhere else. Vote with your download. You know, vote with where you spend your time. Go somewhere else. If there's no other place, make another place. You know, I mean, it's not impossible to do when it comes to that because I know Steam has like a marketplace you can put stuff up there, and I don't think they give a shit what you put there, as long as it's not anti-Semitic or racist or something like that. And there might be that shit on there too. I don't know. I never really looked deep into some of the games that might have it, but Nexus Mods is just a convenient hosting spot for it. That's outside of the Steam environment. It's just an easier way of downloading mods. So just don't go there. Go somewhere else, get your mods. I don't know. I thought the whole thing was fucking stupid, but hey, people got mad at pride flags, so they got rid of those too. Like, okay, sure, that's your deal. You can get rid of them if you want. It's your game. Media fires out there, and I get mad if they started moving any way for them to do it. I'd be like, hey, come on, let them fucking do it if they want to do it.
The pride flag thing, you're talking about mods that remove the pride flag, not the developers themselves.
Yeah, the mod there was a mod that removed pride flags from a game. I forget which one, but it was being mentioned at the same time as the whole pronoun thing.
Well, people brought up that earlier. Well, that's a whole. It's not completely irrelevant and unimportant, but you talked about how games journalism has been supplanted by new media, YouTube, Twitch streamers, or I should say Twitch. But
no,
streamers.
There's some Twitch streamers do it, yeah.
Well, Twitch, Kick, Rumble, whatever. But I'm not, obviously endorsing any specific website. But different platforms, different the video format and the streaming format have supplanted games journalism. But do you think there's still a role for written games journalism?
I mean, there's a place for everything, right? Because I mean, there's Reddit communities where you can go and learn about games. There's Discord communities you can go and learn about games. The written form isn't dead. It's dying. It's dying. But it's not dead. And I just think it's changing shape because we're at the point where people would rather listen to a 1 hour long YouTube dissection of a game than spend 20 minutes reading an article. They'd rather have that on in the background while they're doing something else and just listening to that and picking up the information as it comes, And I do the same thing. Like, I probably have far too many hours on YouTube listening to stuff while I'm at work or while I'm at home, just doing my thing, learning about, like, today I watched 2 videos that were over 2 hours each about making guitars while I was working and while I was getting food ready and stuff. That's just the way people consume things now. So if you have to sit down and read something, it takes your full focus to go and read it. I just don't think that it's just where we've moved to as a culture. We just don't have the desire to sit and read an article anymore.
I would love there to be like a print games journalism where there's like a really good magazine that you can actually trust and like they have like super in-depth articles and reviews of games. I think that'd be really cool, but I don't trust like any of the ones that are out there right now to actually do like a great job with it. And that's like, unfortunate because I think that I'd love to have like once a week, once a month, once every 2 weeks, whatever, delivered. Bam, here's this thick ass magazine. I'll even pay like a hefty subscription, to have it ad free and like here's all these in-depth articles, and you can even have like political articles and shit in there too, like if you want to like analyze games from like a if it's a magazine that's like analyzing games from a certain perspective. I think that could be like interesting to explore and to read about if it's done well, which most of the time it's not. um but yeah, I'd love to have something like that exists in the world.
Well, outside of the political stuff, if you have a DeLorean and want to go back in time, the '80s,
Well,
that's when you
I don't
had it.
like need the political stuff or even care about the political stuff. I think the political stuff could be interesting if it's done really well, which it never is, um, pretty much. But I do think that like having just something where it's like, hey, look, I don't need to go on my phone and check like 10 different websites or to find out what games are coming out in the next over the course of the next year, right? I want like, bam, I've got right here a trustworthy source for games that are coming out, for information about games, and about like really good critiques of games too.
Yeah, well, like I said, the '80s had that. We had that. We had lots of great magazines that you had. You were spoiled for choice. You know, I was like reading. I think his name was Coffee. His Scorched Earth articles because he had editorials about gaming and whatnot in the backs of the magazines. I used to read all that kind of shit back in the day. It was great. You're just not going to get it anymore. And like I said, I think we as a people have just kind of like moved on mass from written materials. I you know, I don't think it's a good or bad thing. I think it's actually kind of bad because I mean, video sites won't last forever, and you know, at least when we had the written word, it existed past when we were around. So I mean, for future generations, it's going to be kind of shit. Um, and I mean, I would love to see a magazine come back up. I just don't see it happening. I just think everyone's kind of moved past a lot of articles. Like, I can't remember the last time I sat down and read an article fully end to end unless I was doing research for something specific, right? Like I just flip on a video and catch the news or catch what's going on or learn about something because it's just easier to have that going and then I can just do something else with my time too.
So, did you see? Okay, I'll just read the full thing. So, in August 2015, Michael Koretzky, a regional director for the Society of Professional Journalists, hosted the SPJ Airplay conference. The idea of the conference was to have journalistic ethics experts meet with GamerGate supporters to discuss their concerns about games journalism and the way the media covered GamerGate. The second half of the conference was interrupted by bomb threats, forcing the convention center to be evacuated. Do you have any thoughts on this event?
Yeah, it was fucking hilarious. Because I'm like, okay, who called in the bomb threat? Was it a Gamergate supporter that just was fucking around? Was it anti-Gamergate fucking around? Was it just a random troll fucking around? We just don't know because it was a big shit show at that point. It was sad because like they tried, but that's like I said, that's the key issue is that he did not have the money and or power to make those changes himself. He tried going, hat in hand to people, getting support and doing something different. And have you seen any changes because of what he did? No, because he could not do it himself. He could not find enough support to do it himself because again, it takes money and power to do these things. And we just on mass don't really have it, you know? We don't really have that much compared to the $1 billion gaming industry that's funding the media.
Why do you think Airplay wasn't covered?
Would you cover a story where you're the villain?
Well,
I don't
and
think
if you're
you
a
would.
games, as long as you're not a games journalist. I mean, first of all, I think that yeah, I think I would because like if I am operating in an industry, I want to operate with like the highest degree of like ethical standards that I could, and like that means that I should cover events like this. If I was a
Yeah,
games journalist,
you
or no,
said the magic word, ethics. Ethics in game journalism, which we were protesting the lack of. Imagine that. And of course, the mainstream press isn't going to cover it until there was bomb threats because it's fucking gamers. Who the fuck gives a shit about gamers even though it's one of the biggest medium around? Who the fuck gives a shit about gamers anyways? That's the thing. It's the reason why Gamergate happened the way it did is that gaming has always been looked down on and will always be looked down on as an immature hobby. You have to be so immature to enjoy it. You have to be just like a big kid, a big baby with your big baby toys. You know, you buy a special little box and they have a special little controller, and you go and you play your little baby games. You know, real men drink whiskey and cut logs or whatever the fuck that they want to say. You know, it's like, but who is paying for the billions of dollars of industry then? Is that money just coming out the fucking ground? It isn't. It really isn't. It's because the old school press, the old school mainstream press, is run by a bunch of old fucks who've never given a shit about things like TikTok or YouTube or anything else. And there's still a bias there to this day, just like in government, how it's all run by old fucks who don't want to retire, who want to stay there for fucking ever, forcing their goddamn viewpoint down our goddamn throats till they're in the fucking ground. That's it. That's the big secret why nothing gets covered and nothing gets changed, because the people in charge of both the press and the government are just too fucking old to give a shit.
So, did you support email campaigns to try and punish these supposedly corrupt websites?
Yes. Yes. Yes, because they left us with no other tools. They don't want to listen to us. They want to block us from their posting. Fine, cut them off at the kneecaps. Take their money away. It's all we can do. I'm not a big fan of canceling people's support. I feel it's a last resort and always should be saved as a last resort. It shouldn't be the first thing you do with someone who's done something that's cancelable or what have you. You should look to find some other way to mediate the problem. And if you can't, fuck them. Cut off their money.
Do you think that by going at, well, I already know what you're gonna say on this one. I'm pretty sure because you made your perception on this very clear. Uh, uh, but do you think that by going after the money of these companies, that you basically made it an us versus them thing?
I mean, yeah, that's they made an us versus them thing before that. They want to come out and say we should all fuck off. Like, well, no, you fuck off first. And if we have to take your money to do it, yes, that's what we'll do. We'll take your money. We will find a way to cost you as much money as humanly possible. Because why the hell should you get paid to shit on us? I don't like that.